why I've stopped using AI and GPT to do anything other than simple math calculations that I don't feel like doing anymore. Go watch Sean Webb's video. Mind Hacking Happiness is his channel, on how he caught AI lying. And then let me tell you that, yeah, that's real. It happens all the time. And I was actually using it for a prompt that I got that was supposed to help me sift through 20 years worth of blood work in like 10 minutes. And when I went and looked at the values compared to like the lab notes that I actually had, I don't know where GPT pulled the lab values from. I have no idea. Like, they aren't the person's lab values. And when I asked, they said, "Oh, we weren't sure, so we just put in placeholders." I gave you the PDF, I gave you the prompt, I told you to read it, and you still just put in placeholders when I said don't substitute anything in the prompt. You just were gonna lie like that? And then I just see this person who's trying to get you to buy a product. And the product is an MLM, which I don't have a problem with MLMs. I just have a problem with them saying this works for everybody, because it doesn't work for everybody. How do I know it doesn't work for everybody? I've worked with the clients who the product worked for like maybe a month and then it stopped working. I've also worked with the clients who it never helped, and then I've worked with the clients who've actually had more harm done than good from the product. Now you might ask, why would a product make such big promises if it has such mixed reviews? Well, the truth is, just like pharmaceutical research, they only really have to report on the 30% of people in the study who improved, and they report their results. They don't have to report side effects for the people who the product didn't work for, as long as it didn't anyone. So this person, SAI, why is insulin resistance the number one thing that Americans need to worry about, and how does added sugars and anything sweet tasting add to that problem? And AI typically, in its fashion, spits out an answer that it can garner from the internet, because it's just a sifting machine. That's all it is. So the answer she gets back feeds her bias, right? That it's all a game that you're balancing with your calorie intake and your sugar intake, which is what the American Diabetes Association would have you believe, but we know it's not that, because your body is exposed to insulin anytime you take any kind of calorie in. Any calorie, including protein. It also, in the thing, says that the number one cause of obesity is insulin resistance. And while this is true, it didn't go further into depth on that. And it's like partially true. It's not the number one cause, it's just like a really big cause, right? So to prove that to you, I asked AI to sift through the twin study. If you don't know about the twin study, it's out of Kingston University in the United Kingdom. It's 7,200 participants, which is 3,600 sets of identical twins. And they look at what happens when one identical twin is thin and one is obese, and when one gets a disease and the other one doesn't. And they look at all those environmental factors, and they're trying to put together like the things that we need to watch for. The main author of the study is a guy named Tim Spector. He has a couple of books. You can read the books. In the books, he's probably going to tell you to go vegan. I don't recommend that for everybody, but based on his research, that's what he decided he needed to go do. And again, that's his own bias. But there are literally people who will not thrive on a vegan diet. So just know that if you don't thrive on a vegan diet, it's okay. It wasn't meant for you, because again, we're all genetically individual. But partly because I can never say this first one and everyone fails to talk about it. In the twin study, so a core gut microbiome in obese and lean twins, right? This is part of the study, and this information got pulled out from Tim Spector's work on that study. This one here, this Christian Silencia and Akkermansia, are more abundant in individuals who are thin. Most people are going to just tell you to start taking Akkermansia, and well, Akkermansia can improve the health of your gut microbiome overall, and it can help you lose weight, and it is in every probiotic that has like GLP-1 name attached to it. It may not be that like burning flag, bush, whatever that you're looking for. One of the ways that Akkermansia supports the body is that its job is to go after things that like to hide in the mucus linings and clean those up and maintain a healthy mucus lining in the gut. But like I've said before, SIBO can be an overgrowth of good bacteria or not so great bacteria. So a not great bacteria to have overgrow would be Akkermansia. And the reason is Akkermansia will start to break down the lining of the gut, that mucosal lining that protects the one layer of cells that help you absorb all the nutrients, to the point that you damage the gut lining. Now, I've done a bunch of searches and I can't find that other probiotic in pretty much anything unless you're doing a fecal transplant from a skinny person. And there is a new biome company on the market. They've been around, I think, for about 15 years now. I watched a whole TED Talk on them and gathered a bunch of information. But one of the causes of your obesity is likely gut bacteria, because what they found in this study was literally, okay, we've got 2 mice who are going to eat the same exact diet. They're going to be offered the same amount of playtime. They're going to be offered the same amount of stimulation. But we're going to inject the fecal material and do a fecal transplant of the obese twin into one of those mice and see what happens. And what happened was that mouse got fat. So if you do this fecal transplant, you want to make sure that the person that you're getting the transplant from is naturally thin. They haven't done a GLP-1. And you might be asking why I'm saying they haven't done a GLP-1. The GLP-1 on its own does not improve these gut bacteria. It balances the microbiome so that it's better, but it doesn't specifically change these 2 bacteria. And that's why some people can come off the GLP-1 because their gut microbiome is, because they're making healthier choices as well, is thriving and doing better, and these good gut bacteria can start to recolonize and grow. And there's some people who are eating exactly the same way they were before they went on a GLP-1. They're just eating less of it. So they're not feeding healthy gut bacteria. So you want to ask the question, and you can be specific with this company. Now, mind you, it's like $10,000 a bottle for this, and you have to go through a prescribing physician, and they have to be up on all this research, and they have to know to say, my client would like a fecal transplant from somebody who is of a healthy BMI, who has never done a weight loss drug ever. Because what they found is that when these gut bacteria are increased, your response to insulin improves. Let that sink in. When these 2, not just Akkermansia, gut bacteria increase, your response to insulin improves. So lacking specific gut bacteria, you become more insulin resistant, and that causes obesity. But it's specific to 2 gut bacteria. So if you don't believe the health of your gut is the number 1 priority in your life, the twin study says otherwise.